Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reading Midnight Sun. If you have seen my last reading vlog, you will know that my pre-order of Midnight Sun was super late. I ordered from Book Depository and I don't think I got my copy until like maybe 2 weeks after the release date, which was super annoying because I was so hyped. As soon as I seen that countdown clock on Stephenie Meyer's website, I ordered it. That second, I ordered it. And I was hoping for the Host sequels because, let me just talk for a second. The Host is actually a good book. I know like we all crap on Twilight and whatever, and you know, I'm not saying that that's good. The Host books, that there's actually a story there. The movie, not so much, but the Host books, actually good. And I've been waiting since those books came out for the sequels. I absolutely love that book. So I was a little bit disappointed when they announced Midnight Sun, because even when I was in that like Twilight obsessed 14-year-old phase, I didn't really want Midnight Sun even then, because I knew it was just a retelling, and I'd already read Twilight and watched the movie. Why did I want to experience it again? So 10 years later, the age of 24, I will now be experiencing Midnight Sun. I never even read the leaked PDF copy. That's how much I didn't care about this book, even when I was super Twilight obsessed. But also when I was like talking about this book with my friends and stuff, I remembered that Stephenie Meyer had basically done this before. Like, isn't that book, Life and Death, is that not Midnight Sun, technically? Because isn't it like gender bent Twilight? So isn't it kinda Midnight Sun? I'm not sure what my hopes are going into this. Like, I'm not really sure if I am going to love it or not. I've seen some reviews and people, which I mean, kind of expected that. But lots of people hated the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which was the Suzanne Collins President Snow book, and I actually really enjoyed that. Like, that's such an unpopular opinion. And I really didn't think that it would be an unpopular opinion, but I actually really enjoyed it. So, will that happen with this? Not sure. Kinda doubt it, but like, you know, who knows, anything can happen. It is 2020, so let's see if Stephenie Meyer's little grasp at money will actually turn out to be good, or will it turn out to be a big flop. That's why she didn't publish it back in 2011 or whenever it was supposed to come out. Let's get into this, and I will bring you along with me while I'm reading and let you know my thoughts as they go on. So obviously there will be spoilers in this video. If you don't want to see any spoilers, then I'd suggest you click off now, and my full review on my blog will be linked down below once I finish. Okay, so the book immediately starts off with Edward being typical, sorry for myself, I'm in a
agonizing life and I wish I wasn't immortal and blah blah blah.
Basically the book starts off with Edward describing being stuck in high school as purgatory for his sins, and describing everyone in the school as sheep, basically, because they're so ununique compared to him. I just feel like this is just going to set the tone for the rest of the book. Like, Edward is just going to be so whiny and, oh, nobody understands me. Let's see how this goes. Okay, so I'm only on page 2. This is actually hilarious. So Edward is just talking about his family and his siblings and describing them, and he describes Rosalie as a vapid, stagnant pool of water because she just loves looking at herself. Edward, why are you hating on it? Like, just because you hate yourself doesn't mean someone else can't love themselves. Then he describes Emmett as a lake with no shadows, so basically saying Emmett doesn't have a thought in his head. Then for Jasper, he just says Jasper was ... suffering. Which is so funny because I just think back to the Twilight movie when Jessica is describing Collins to Bella when she first sees them in the cafeteria, and then she says, "That's Jasper, the one that looks like he's in pain." I'm just reading the biology scene. In the movie, it's like romantic and it's Edward and Bella's first meeting. There's that weird scene when he's like covering his nose to stop the smell of her. In the book, it is so different in this book from Edward's perspective. Edward literally has thought up a plan to murder every single person in this biology classroom by blocking the door and then picking them off one by one in front of Bella so that she could be totally scared before he kills her and eats her.
It's not really what I was thinking when the biology scene was happening.
That's different. And now he is thinking about taking her to the woods at the back of the school and killing her, and that nobody would notice or look for her. Is this book just going to be like every 10 pages Edward talking about how much he wants to kill her? It's not really like what I was expecting. I thought that he'd like fallen in love with her the moment he met her, but clearly that's not the case. This is interesting. So Tanya, Irina and Kate, which we see in Breaking Dawn, and Irina is the one who tells the Volturi about the immortal child, which is Renesmee, to start off that whole chain of events. Basically, in the book now, after the biology scene, Edward is uncontrollably wants to kill Bella. Get himself out of that situation, try to calm down. He has left for a few days and gone to visit Irina, Kate and Tanya, the Denali tribe. I didn't know this because I didn't know that they were so close with the Denali tribe. So that makes the betrayal of Irina just jumping to conclusions and basically ratting them out to the Volturi even worse, because if they were so close that when Edward needs a safe space he actually goes to them. So this is kind of interesting, seeing these new relationships that you don't see in the book. There's romantic tension between Edward and Tanya, where basically I think she tried it on with Edward. She has made it known that she wants to be with Edward, but he constantly rejects her to the point of where like she's quite hurt about it, and obviously he can read her thoughts so he knew it anyways. That's just unusual as well, that whole, well, not relationship, but like that those feelings weren't discussed in the other books, especially in Breaking Dawn when the Denali clan were such a big part in helping them with the whole Volturi thing and also causing it. I hope that in this book we see more of that, like we see more of these relationships that we wouldn't have seen in the other books, because we wouldn't have been deep diving into each person's relationships and friendships with people. And I suppose with reading from Edward's perspective you see more like inside people's heads. Edward Cullen moment number 1723. So Bella is trying to come up with theories for what Edward is, because obviously she knows there's something not normal about him. So then she's kind of like messing around and she's saying, oh, a radioactive spider bite or kryptonite poisoning. Then Edward says, what if I'm not a superhero? What if I'm the bad guy? Oh my god. Edward, you're so annoying. So it's the next day. My phone died while recording yesterday, and I have just gotten to where Bella has just come back from the Port Angeli shopping thing with Angela and Jessica. And Edward gave her a lift home and they went to dinner, and she basically said, you know, I know you're a vampire, and he's like, so yeah. But I just wanted to talk about as well that Jessica's a snake. Little bit shocked, not gonna lie. I always thought Jessica was like one of Bella's best friends. Turns out she's Two-Faced. Because obviously like we get more of the insight because Edward can read her thoughts, and Edward like hates her because she did have this obsession for Edward years ago when they first moved to that high school. But Edward obviously like turned her down, so she never really kind of let that go. She's always a little bit salty about it. But now, like with Bella, she's just kind of using Bella for the attention and stuff, and that's not really what I imagined Jessica as. Like, I imagined Jessica as Bella's friend, and you know, maybe they weren't best friends, but you know, she's just still her friend, and she does go on to become like valedictorian of the school. And another thing is like Edward's hatred for Mike Newton. Okay, I've never been a Mike Newton fan. He's basically the male version of Plain Jane. There's nothing interesting about him to me. I don't like him in any. I was just so shocked how deep Edward's hatred is for him. Like, when I say Edward hates him, Edward hates him. Like, if Edward could just kill him, he probably would, and he wouldn't even care. But also, is his hatred unfounded? Not sure, because Edward can hear Mike's thoughts about Bella, and Mike's thoughts about Bella are like so sexual and stuff, just constantly thinking about her, which like is unpleasant for Edward to hear, but also Edward hearing them is like an invasion of Mike's privacy anyway. And also Mike is, you know, he's a teenager, this good looking girl comes to school. Is it normal to have these thoughts? So I suppose like for Edward, him constantly listening to them would obviously make you unhappy if this is the girl that you like or that you're interested in or whatever. I also want to talk about, so in the Port Angeles scene, we see Bella get cornered by like those drunk guys that we see in the movie. But what I didn't actually know was that because Edward can read their thoughts, that the guy who was like saying this stuff to her and like being creepy was actually like some kind of like kidnapper, creepy, like pedophile kind of guy. And then Edward can see like his victims in his mind, and I was like shook about that, because I was like, oh my god, I just thought these were like, you know, just some drunk guys. So then I was like reading a bit more, and then basically like he goes back to his family's house, and then he tells Caroline about it, and then Caroline and Edward basically like go back to Port Angeles, and Caroline like sedates him and then like brings him in the car to another town and then dumps him in like an alleyway, and then tips off the police so the police can arrest him because he was dead for kidnapping or some murder. And I was, oh, like, kind of cool. I was just imagining Caroline and Edward as this crime-solving duo, you know, like, and that's just their little thing to entertain them. I just find that so appealing. I was like, oh, that would be, you know, cool for a little tangent story maybe. Them as a little crime-fighting duo. I am almost 300 pages in. I wouldn't say I'm enjoying it. I think there is things I'm enjoying. I'm absolutely living for the extra Emmett and Jasper scenes. Emmett and Jasper are so overlooked in the other books and the movies. All we see is like Edward, Bella, a little bit of Caroline, no Esme at all really, Rosalie and her backstory, and then like Alice because she's besties with Bella. This book is like giving me so much more insight into those characters. Like we see Esme as such a protective and caring mother to them all. We see Emmett as being like this really caring, lovable brother to Edward, constantly being there for him to just like let some energy out, brings him hunting, you know, tries to keep him active in games, take his mind off things, is always there for him to talk to and stuff. And then we have Jasper, who's like, you know, going through his own like newborn phase, and then you see like his intensely protective relationship with Alice, and we just don't see that in the other books or the other movies. I'm really loving that. For everything else, I'm not gonna lie, it is repetitive. Like, I mean, we're reading the same thing from a different perspective, but that doesn't mean it's the same thing. It's not very quick, it's not very engaging, it's not a fast read. I feel like I've been reading this for so long, and I'm only on page 300. When I pre-ordered this, like, I assumed, oh, I'm so excited to read this, I'm just gonna like fly through this book, and it's actually taken me so long to read this, just like really slow. The only thing that I'm like reading for is basically like the extra character content. The next day, I'm still reading Midnight Sun. This has taken me so much longer to read this book than what I had expected when I pre-ordered it. Like, I really assumed that I would just fly through the book, but it's kind of slow. Is it slow because we've already read these scenes? Like, we already know exactly what's going to happen because we've already read Twilight? Maybe that's the reason why. But I am on page 323, and I've just like come across a scene that I kind of want to talk about right now. Edward is trying to understand Bella more, so he's asking her questions about like her childhood and growing up in Phoenix. He's asking her about her mum, because obviously he's never met her mum, and he's asking about what their family home was like and asking her to describe her childhood bedroom. And then Bella says that she was basically living in the garage, and Edward is like, well, why were you living in the garage? And then she's just like, oh, my mum just needed a yoga studio, so she took my room. And Edward's like, was there not a spare room? And Bella's like,
yeah, there was a spare room. That's what it was, craft room. So I just slept in the carriage.
Bella's lullaby for him, and Bella starts to get emotional, so she cries, and a tear runs down her cheek, and Edward picks the tear off her cheek and then eats it. But like, even his explanation for it doesn't take away the weirdness. So he says, "I swallowed Bella's tear. Perhaps it would never leave my body. Nothing besides blood seems to move through us at all. After she left me, after all the lonely years had passed, maybe I would always have this piece of her inside me." The explanation does nothing but make a weird situation even weirder. So basically what he's saying is that he ate her tear because vampires can't shit. So therefore it will be inside him forever, even after she's dead. I don't know, I just don't understand sometimes. Edward's explanations for his actions never explain them in the way that he thinks they're going to make a good explanation and explain away the weirdness. Like, that whole explanation is just as cringy as it is deeply disturbing. Okay, so now I'm at the baseball scene, and I just have to say, the baseball scene in Catherine Hardwicke's Twilight movie, immaculate. 10 out of 10. #1 most iconic sports scene of all time. Supermassive black hole by Muse playing in the background. Iconic. Show-stopping. Never can be topped. The vampire baseball in Midnight Sun. Boring. So boring. Oh, there's just nothing exciting happening at all. Like, and that is definitely one of my favourite Twilight scenes in the whole franchise. But in Midnight Sun, it is so boring. But maybe it's boring in this because we're seeing it from Edward's perspective, and this is like a normal family activity for him. Whereas when we read it in Twilight, and obviously the original Twilight movie, that was from Bella's perspective. So to her it was something magical and new. Is that why it's boring in this? Or does Edward just make it boring? I don't know. So we've just gotten to the part in the baseball scene where James, Laurent and Victoria have arrived, and, you know, just waiting for stuff to go down from now on. But I didn't realise that Jasper was actually using his power to shield, I guess, or to create like a hazy, boring, unappealing mood towards himself, Alice, Esme and Bella, to hide them from these strangers. And I didn't actually realise that because obviously in the original Twilight book Bella wouldn't know this, and in the movie I suppose like it would have been hard to convey this. And then Edward is just constantly surprised that his family are protecting Bella. But I don't understand why. Does he not realise that his family are protecting Bella because they're protecting him? They're protecting something that he loves because they love him. And I just don't understand, like, Edward is so self-deprecating and he's so self-loathing that he just can't imagine his family doing these things to try and keep him happy and because they love him. I don't know, it's just strange. Like, he just doesn't really think about other people's reactions to him and other people's relationships and thoughts of him. Okay, so location change. I just got really tired, so I just came upstairs to finish the last couple hundred pages of Midnight Sun. I've been making notes in this really cute little furry notebook. So currently, James the tracker is tracking them, and he's currently like running behind them. And I also didn't realise that the whole plan of them splitting up and trying to trick him was actually Bella's idea. So I never realised that before. And also, I never really thought about how they got to Phoenix. It never even crossed my mind to think about how, like, Edward and all of them travelled to Phoenix. So it turns out they got a plane, which I just never considered. I don't even know how I thought that they got there. So now we're at the scene where James has Bella in the ballet studio after kidnapping her, and the Cullens have just got there and they literally tore James to shreds. It's really interesting because we didn't get to see this from Bella's perspective because obviously she was unconscious. So in the Twilight book, it basically just goes from her being kidnapped to her waking up in the hospital. So we don't get to see the actual action that happened in the scene. Also, another interesting thing that we didn't know before was Alice's backstory. So we didn't really know anything about Alice or where she came from. Everyone else had backstories, but Alice just kind of showed up one day with Jasper at the Cullen's house. So it turns out that Alice was tortured. So she was kept in a mental asylum in the dark for most of her human life, basically being abused in the mental asylum. And James, the tracker, was the one who actually hunted her when she left. And he hunted her down, and he is the one who turned her into a vampire. We didn't really get to know any of that before. But also I find that strange because why didn't Alice recognize his face in the clearing? Or have some tiny inkling of, oh, that he looks familiar? Or why didn't he go after Alice? If he's the one that turned her, would there not be some kind of connection there, some kind of bond? So I feel like that just kind of gave me more questions than answers about her backstory. I would like maybe if there was more of a longer explanation, or maybe a scene where he told Alice about that he was the one that turned her. So I don't know, I found that interesting that we finally got that insight, but I feel like it could have been done better. Also, James revealed that Alice was having her visions while she was human, because he said that 100 years earlier and she would have been burned at the stake for her visions. In the 1920s it was the asylum and the shock treatment. So that means that even as a human, Alice still had her gift. Is that Stephenie Meyer's way of kind of foreshadowing how Bella kind of has her gift now, Edward can't read her thoughts because she's shielding them? So is that saying that humans can possess these special abilities, and then when you become a vampire they become super heightened? love the prom scene in the Twilight movie. Like, Catherine Hardwicke did such an amazing job. She made the Twilight movie so well. Twilight is the best movie of the whole franchise. The franchise literally went downhill after Twilight. Like, the whole blue filter effect on the whole movie is so atmospheric and so suits the whole like gloomy atmosphere of Forks. I don't think that will be topped. Like the other movies, they're just not that great compared to Twilight. Like Twilight I could watch over and over. The other movies, not really. Like, I recently rewatched all the movies while I was in the middle of reading this, but none of them compared to Twilight. Like Twilight is just when you could watch over and over again. Like I could only watch the other movies if I was doing like a full rewatch. I couldn't watch them separately. They're just not that good. So, I just finished. That was interesting. It's definitely a roller coaster. It did bring some new information, but like not enough to warrant this amount of pages. Like if you compare Twilight to this is at least, I don't know, like 400 pages extra, and it's literally just filled with 400 pages extra of Edward's self-deprecating, cringy, I hate myself, I'm a monster monologue. Like, say less. Stop talking, Edward. But one thing I did like at the back of the book is there's like this little dedication, and it says, "And finally, the readers who are so patiently eager for this book. I never would have finished without your support. You belong on this page. Please write your name on the line below and give yourself a high five." So that's like a nice little tribute to the readers from Stephenie Meyer. So I thought that was cute. I have some thoughts that I have written down in my cute pink notebook. Okay, so let's talk about some of my thoughts and kind of maybe like favourite scenes, I guess, from the book, or just some observations I made when I was reading. First of all, can I just say, the cover, the pomegranate, the whole Hades and Persephone damning her to hell by like leaving her little pomegranate seeds. It was a good metaphor until Edward decided to explain it 50 times in the book. Literally every like 10 seconds he was like, "Oh, there's another pomegranate seed to damn Persephone to hell. Oh, I was laying a pomegranate seed for Bella." And you're like, okay, like we get it. We get the metaphor. Just stop over explaining it. I want to talk about one of my absolute favourite scenes in the whole book. So one of my favourite scenes in the book is when Carlisle and Edward, when it was just them together, he had just created Edward, and Carlisle wanted to give Edward a perfect traditional Christmas, so he tricked Edward into leaving the house and going on some like errand, and then when Edward came back, Carlisle had set up a Christmas tree and decorated the house because he wanted to give him like a happy traditional Christmas. And that's just so cute because we really don't see this like caring father-son relationship in the Twilight franchise. So that was just so cute and made me love Carlisle even more. Okay, so I just want to talk about how Bella in Midnight Sun is so different to Twilight. So basically in Twilight, Bella comes off as a very boring, nondescript character. Like, we don't see anything really that interesting about her. But in Midnight Sun, she is so kind, she's so funny, she's entertaining. We see all these good qualities about Bella. And I was just thinking about it, and I've realised that I think the reason for that is because Twilight is from Bella's perspective, and she doesn't think those things about herself. Like, she doesn't think about how kind she is, how funny she is. But Edward can see that from his perspective. And we really see this in how much of a good friend Bella is. She goes out of her way to be kind. She goes out of her way to stop Eric being teased in their group of friends in the cafeteria in that scene. And she's just so nice. You see like a lot more depth to her character in this book. In one of the final scenes, the prom scene, when we see Jacob, who got paid by his dad to come and crash the prom, tell Bella to stay away from Edward, and we can see Edward reading Jacob's mind, and he basically describes reading Jacob's mind as like so happy and basically like sunshine thoughts and a pleasure to be around. And I just want to know, what did Stephenie Meyer do to Jacob? Jacob in this book is absolutely lovely, and I refuse to believe that him just becoming a werewolf ruined him to the point that he becomes so creepy in Eclipse by, taunting Bella and kissing her without her consent. And how can Edward go from thinking this boy is sunshine to this boy being awful and my enemy, and I absolutely hate him so much and hating to listen to his thoughts? So I just don't understand. Like, Stephenie Meyer just really ruined the character arc of Jacob. I feel like it could have been done way better, and I just don't understand how she can describe his thoughts as sunshine in this and then have Edward hate him in the next one. What I really liked about getting to see the ballet room scene is that we get to see more of the fallout. So obviously Bella was in the hospital for like 6 or 7 days, so she was unconscious. We don't really get to see any of the fallout from her perspective because she wasn't involved. But with Edward, we get to see him watching the camcorder recording that James made. And through the camcorder video, we get to see that the target of the tracker wasn't actually Bella, it was Edward. And it was because of Edward's protective reaction to her in the meadow that set the tracker off, that set James off, that he wanted to punish Edward, that he wanted to hurt him. So really overall the tracker's objective was to hurt Edward and not Bella. So I thought that was really interesting because I never realised that, and that was never really confirmed in the Twilight book either. After him watching that video, we see him go to seek comfort somewhere, seek some solitude, and he goes to the chapel in the hospital. And even though he thinks that he's a monster and he's damned to hell, he actually prays to Bella's god for her safety. So that was kind of a tender scene, and we don't really get to see much of Edward like being so vulnerable like this. And I just thought that was kind of a really interesting scene for Stephenie Meyer to include, him praying to God when he believes that he's damned to hell anyways and sees himself as a monster, but that he would actually make the effort and try to pray for salvation for Bella. Reason 172 why Edward is trash is that he read Alice's mind in Midnight Sun and knew that he was going to leave Bella and she was going to be a big depressive mess like she was in New Moon. He literally saw the events of New Moon, of the months passing and Bella being so gaunt and sad and not sleeping and having no friends for months, and yet he still went and did it. Logic? Where? I mean, he literally says to Bella at the prom, I will stay with you forever. He talks about how much he loves her. He wants to make her happy. He wants to protect her. And yet he sees her going through this in Alice's mind and still does it. So I think that is all my thoughts on Midnight Sun. Did I enjoy it? Kinda. Was it like a morbid curiosity enjoyment? Yes. Was it like a nostalgia trip? Definitely. Did I love it? No. Do I think it's a good book? No. I would give this 1 star, I think. Just because I just don't think it's a good book. I think that if you loved Twilight when you were younger, or back in the big Twilight days, or even if you're a fan of Twilight, read this book. It's such a nostalgia trip. You get to see lots of Cullen content, but the whole Edward pining and thinking he's better than everyone else and just mansplaining everything to the reader is like, oh my god. It's trash, but enjoyable trash. I loved it, but I hate it. So take from that what you will. And yeah, I guess that's the end of this video. If you want to see more Twilight videos or any other video suggestions for me, leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check my description for the full review on my blog of this book.